Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody, and welcome to Pangolin, the conservation podcast. The show dedicated to exploring and amplifying the world's underappreciated conservation stories, the stories that inspire me, and I hope will inspire you too. I'm your host, Jack Baker, and welcome back to another episode of Pangolin Pride, our now yearly celebration of the LGBTQ plus community's role in conservation and environmental spaces. I am very, 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 very excited because it is a rare occasion where I get to interview someone who I actually know. And I find it so exciting because I get to know all sorts of amazing things about my friends that I didn't already. And the amazing person I am blessing your lives with, because they are so wonderful, is the incredible Ruairidh Alexander. Ruairidh is a volunteer at the Royal Zoological Society of Scotland, where I met them, and they just, those people who you can't live without. They are just very supportive. They help run all of the different classes that I do. So amazing. And alongside that, they are also an MRes student in medicinal chemistry. So they have such a huge range of experience. And they're here today to talk about that and how they bring kind of these worlds of volunteering in the conservation nature space, but also having a life and job and things going on that are so unrelated. And I'm so excited to hear all about that and their experiences. So, yes, first of all, thank you so much for being here today, Ruairidh.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
No, I am excited. I'm very, very happy because yes, we are. Whenever me and Ruairidh interact, it is usually in a room full of minimum 20 children running around. So it's quite nice to actually have an excuse to sit and just talk one on one for a while. So thank you so much for joining me. I guess, like, to get us started, I always like to open with this kind of question, which is introduce yourself. Who are you? Because I know you. I know a little bit about you, but already in our like pre-interview chat, I've learned things about you I didn't even know. So, Ruairidh, who are you? Tell us a little bit.
So, like you said, my name is Ruairidh. I am a trans man. I'm a medicinal chemistry research student at Edinburgh Napier University. My focus for my MRes is cancer drugs. So, with a bit of luck, hopefully, I will, by the end of March, no, by the end of February next year, I will have come up with a new treatment for melanoma, which is absolutely insane, but that's what I'm trying to do.
I mean, no pressure there, but like that's an interesting one. Yeah, there's like it's not like it's a huge, massive leap for mankind. That's nothing. No, it's incredible.
Oh,
Like,
no.
no, that's amazing. And like, I guess like with interest in that and such a specific, right, interest in that, there is like a sciencey, like with conservation in nature, there's that sciencey connection to the chemistry and the applied kind of work that you do in kind of cancer research. But like, I wonder how you kind of with that as maybe your specialism now, like how did you first find your way into conservation and nature spaces? And yeah, how did we get here now? Like that's such an interesting story.
Yeah, it's I've listened to a few episodes already, and I don't think there's maybe one or two that I've listened to with guests with similar stories to mine, where they didn't grow up quite so involved with nature.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I grew up in Qatar in the Middle East. I lived there for 15 years, from the ages of almost 2 to almost 17, which is a fair chunk of time considering I'm only 24 now.
Yep.
um, and over there was very little biodiversity. There was a zoo that closed down when I was 11, and last time I was there was a fair while before that, even. So, although I don't remember it being particularly bad, when I was reading up on it for this, I found out that it was closed because of poor animal treatment, outdated facilities, and being too small. And that's the one that, through my childish eyes, didn't seem too bad. Then I was a bit older, and a new zoo opened on the outskirts of town, which I specifically remember being, to put it politely, pretty bad. But also in Qatar, um, when my parents and I moved out there in 2002, we brought two collies over with us. Collie mixes. We don't know what they were mixed with, but they were lovely dogs. They were like my big brothers.
Hmm.
So I was always connected with animals, even if it was just like pet dogs.
Hmm.
And then one of them died to cancer, and that's what sparked my interest in cancer and cancer research, because to a 5-year-old, well, 5-year-old me at least, a lump made him poorly. That wasn't a good enough answer. I want to know why. So I grew up loving dogs, and out in Qatar, I went away for a holiday with my parents, came back, and visited my neighbours, who then showed us the desert dog living outside their house. Yeah, this is not a pleasant story,
Okay.
but it has a happy ending, I promise.
Okay.
Um, so we went outside our neighbour's house, and there was this bag of bones of a dog who was severely malnourished, severely, like, could barely stand. We called all the shelters and said, we found this dog. Do you have any space? Can you take him in? Because we have a dog already. We don't know if they'll get on. All the shelters were full. We took him to the vet, and the vet said, if we fatten him up, then he should be perfectly healthy. He's not got anything infectious. He's not got any diseases. He's just malnourished. And so we did that. I remember my dad carrying him across the kind of shared park area between the houses into our garden, putting him down on the grass, and we gave him some eggs, some rice, some chicken, I think, got him up on his feet, and we had him for 13 years until he died 2 years ago. And it is a sad story with a sad beginning, but he was only 4 months old when we found him. And I don't want to think about what happened in those first 4 months, but the next 13 years, he was spoiled absolutely rotten. But what we think happened, and why I'm bringing him up in the context of Qatar and that, is he was mostly black with tan eyebrows, tan paws, kind of German Shepherdish markings.
Mhm.
So what we think was the police took him in when he was days old, when you couldn't tell what breed he was, just saw the markings and thought, yeah, that's probably a German Shepherd.
Mhm.
And then as he grew into a Saluki, which, if you or listeners, if anybody doesn't know what a Saluki is, picture a greyhound, but a bit taller, all leg, absolutely all leg. He never grew into them, bless him. Um, and greyhounds have the fastest sprinting speed of any dog, but next to a Saluki, they're lacking the endurance. Salukis have got the endurance for hunting out in the Middle East, because the Bedouin people use them for hunting, and that's how they evolved to be the way that they are.
Mhm.
So, as my dog was growing up, he went from little ball of fluff where you can't tell what breed he is to legs and floppy ears and very obviously not a German Shepherd. So the police kicked him out, left him under a police truck, and he was living on like sandwich crusts.
Aw.
So my mum had the bright idea of calling him Bobby.
I enjoy that a lot. Yep.
Me
Yep.
too.
And yep. And I guess like that connection, right? And watching something get better, like I suppose forges a connection with things other than people. And it also, I guess, further inspires the kind of like the the health storyline, right? Of like seeing something get better. And I suppose then what was the kind of tipping point into okay, so you were in the Middle East and then in Qatar and then you move here. And then is at that point, well, how does kind of conservation side come? Because I see now the like storyline of going to university to learn about kind of the medicine, like and kind of like that side of it. But where does the conservation side? What made you go? I want to volunteer in a zoo and do all these kinds of things. What was that kind of prompt?
Well, seeing the state Bobby was in when we found him, I spent my teen years pretty angry and wanting to lobby against the Qatari government for more animal rights. I'm also vegetarian because I don't see why animals should suffer, animals should be killed for us to benefit and all that. And I don't see how being neglectful to that dog is any different to allowing species to go extinct and causing habitat loss and all the other human pressures that are leading to extinctions. So it was part of that. It was part of growing up in such a monoculture. It was only people. I wanted diversity. Because logically, there must have been things living there before we came along and built things. And now there's not. Like, you go out walking into the desert, you might see some oryx, which is amazing, but that's still just like one species of oryx. And also, my mum loves elephants. Like, absolutely adores them. The entire house is full of elephants everywhere. I would love to say I counted them for you, but I would still be there counting them if I started when you invited me onto the podcast.
Yeah.
um, so, when I was about 13, 14, we went on this little working holiday to Sri Lanka where we stayed with this family with two elephants that had been rescued from a place that does elephant rides.
Hmm.
And we spent a week with this family, the two elephants, walking like 5 miles every day, giving the elephants baths in a river, starting every day by cleaning up the bedding, cleaning up the elephant poop, and pushing wheelbarrows of poop up a hill. It was hard work, but it was absolutely amazing. It was such a great week. And those elephants were happy. The family was lovely. And being that close to such a quite a rare species, an amazing species, that also helps me find some compassion for different animals,
Hmm.
different species, not just animals, of course, but different species for biodiversity, for the role everything plays in its ecosystem. And having lost my dog to cancer when I was 5, I wanted to be a vet because in my head at the time, the vet was going to try and save my dog and didn't, so maybe I can be a better vet and save more dogs. I realise now that's not quite how it works. And over the course of my first degree doing biomedical science, because I didn't quite get the grades to get into vet school, so I went through clearing, got on biomed, had a great time, and somewhere along the line decided instead of going to do a vet degree afterwards, I would be of more use being in the lab developing cancer cures, which then got me where I am now. But wanting to be a vet, I did work experience. So I was working in a practice in Qatar where I saw some well cared for animals. I also saw a pet cheetah and a pet husky. And the husky puts me on about the same level of anger as thinking about Bobby's origin. Because my school in Qatar, we had break times outside until it hit about 40 or 45 degrees C, which happened a lot. My school closed when it hit 50, and that happened a few times. So we're talking about that kind of climate, and someone had a husky. Seeing the cheetah, seeing even just the diversity of dog breeds, and seeing like zoos, like good zoos when I travelled, and the elephants, and documentaries on TV, and all that kind of stuff. It just made sense. I want there to be animals. I want there to be plants. I want there to be diversity in the world. So
Hmm.
why wouldn't I help out and volunteer at someone somewhere trying to do this kind of thing?
Hmm. That's no, that is amazing. That's fantastic, and I think that's what's quite nice is because a lot, not nice. I think a lot of people would see those things and experience those things, and either not take notice of them because they can't place themselves in an experience that's other than the human experience, right? Which is, oh, we have nice pets and we have these interesting things, and especially growing up in a place where that was like more normalized, right? Like you would be like, oh, okay, like this is normalized. This is what we're doing. And, like it's interesting that you were still able to have that kind of critical lens to put on and go, hang on, this doesn't feel right to me. This doesn't sit right with me. And so that's really interesting that you were able to kind of reflect on that, think about it, and kind of then go, hang on, okay, this doesn't sit right with me. How can I change it? How can I contribute to making things better, or conditions better, or life better for these animals? And not just on an individual scale, but on a species level or a wider scale is really, really interesting and really, really powerful. And I think especially because a lot of people in that context would have been disempowered because it is so normalized, right? Even if you can see and think critically about it, when it's a more kind of, yeah, it's not, it's your norm, it's your everyday, it's your kind of thing that you're seeing, it's very hard to push back on, right? Like it's an interesting, it's very, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery and a lot of gut to go, hang on, let's do something about that, and let's change the direction of, potentially change the direction of, yeah, all like a vast swathe of animals' lives future, further down the line. That's really, really powerful, and I think that's really, really interesting. Um, and I guess like what is rewarding is once you have those experiences that change things, there are still hard things that happen, right? There are still difficult things that happen and challenging things, but there are also amazing, empowering, wonderful things that happen as well. And I wondered, like, since you've kind of gone into this space and kind of started being more active, and whether it be through volunteering or through other work that you do, what are some of the more amazing kind of, what are some of the things that you've gone, oh, hang on, this has been amazing, this has been fantastic, I'm so glad that, like, I'm doing this, and, like, yeah, what have been the more maybe rewarding sides?
Oh, I was going to finish with something like that. Um, but okay, without getting into the big story that I'm saving for the end.
Oh, that's good build up though, because now the listeners are going to stick around to the end. This is good. Yep.
Yeah, without getting into that, other rewarding things have been, well, right now at the time of recording, it is the 15th of May, and it is
Hmm.
baby penguin season at the zoo.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And they are so cute. I absolutely love seeing them. It's one of my favorite times of year. Um, but I also, um, I love the education side. That's the stuff I volunteer with the most.
Hmm.
I mean, you've seen me at CAT. Every month I can get a shift. um, and the summer schools and the science summer school, that's also my favorite times of the year because I get to, like, I'm a private tutor outside of studying, outside of volunteering, and I love helping teenagers, kids, young people develop confidence in whatever they're learning.
Hmm.
Because, like you said, my perspective entirely changed from growing up somewhere with no animal rights to I'm going to do something about this.
Yeah.
If I can do anything to build any kind of confidence in anybody to say, do you know what? I don't like this thing. I'm going to stand up to it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try and help them on that path. So I've had some really good conversations with the students. I've had good conversations even with visitors to the zoo.
Hmm.
Just random things, random. Um, oh, it's just a horse. Well, interesting you say that because those Przewalski's horses over there, they're the last wild species.
Hmm.
And we can talk about domestication. We can talk about how humans have influenced animal populations over the years and the state of the world. And conversations like that get people thinking, oh, my actions have consequence. That's quite rewarding, changing some minds as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. I think that's the thing is, right. You have these moments of joy where it comes to the animals themselves, but it's also about that switching on of the light bulb for people. Like, no, and without the two of them functioning really well together, a zoo or a safari park or whatever it is, aquarium, whatever it is, can't function effectively in my opinion. Like, you have to have both of those things to work really well, right? Is like the good animal care, making sure there's happiness, there's healthiness, there's welfare, there's these things, but also making sure people are not just seeing them for cute, but also turning on that light bulb of, like, yep, this is amazing, this is incredible, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm appreciating. And whether it be in a way where they're like, want to take action, or just have a little bit more respect for the world around them and love for the world around them, I think is so empowering and so powerful. um yeah, that's really amazing. That's really, really amazing. I have to tell you a very brief story that I just the other day, because you mentioned Przewalski's horse. I think you will appreciate this. I was, and I will post this video on social media because it's fantastic. I was at Highland Wildlife Park, and if you stopped in a drive-through with Przewalski's horse, horses often like a salt lick, right? So they'll go and they'll lick these things. And if you stop your car and it's covered in dirt and gravel and these things, they'll come up and they'll lick it sometimes because they're like, tasty, delicious. So I was at Highland Wildlife Park and we stopped to look at the horses, and there was one right in front of the car. It walked like right in front, and it was like licking right on the parking sensor. So it was like you could just hear it like in the car. It was like, and then it would lean back and it would stop, and then it would lean in again. It would, and eventually it got its tongue right on the sensor, so it just like went flatlined. It was like this consistent, like, I was like, this is fantastic. And so I just like, I had to, sorry, this has nothing to do with anything, but it was a moment of connection and love for nature with a species that is so important and so wonderful and is, yeah, has such an interesting story, and I should do an entire podcast about, actually, I think, because we haven't done one, and I love the Przewalskis. So
Yes,
yeah,
please.
yeah, yep. I'll add it to the very long list of animals that I want to do podcasts about. No, that's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, I can see. And also, if I was doing an MRes, I feel like volunteering at a zoo would be a lovely way to just like not think about research for a while.
Yes.
hmm The
It very
supreme eye
much
roll.
is.
Yep. But like, I guess that's the question, right? Is how do you make space for conservation in your life, right? Like, how do you like carve out this time? Is it something you have to like, because I know a lot of people struggle with that balance, right? They come to a zoo, they come and learn, or they go to a class and they learn things, and they then go, well, that's great, but I have a full-time job, or I have to do this, or I'm a student, or I have to kind of do all these things. How do you make the space to kind of have both those aspects still in your life, even though they are quite distinct? And you also have other, like, I know you also like, whenever you're at the zoo, you're also about to run away and do um event something at like Murrayfield or whatever, like stadium, like you're always away doing something. So how do you make space to have this kind of all of these things going on?
Um, well, I'm at uni Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 typically,
Yeah.
because I'm not allowed in the biology labs outside of those times normally, because that's when the technicians are there in case I need anything. And for the chemistry labs, I also try to keep it to Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. But then if I don't have any experiments to do, then I can be more flexible with my time for reading and writing stuff.
hmm
So sometimes I will take a day and, relax a bit during the day, read and write at night, go to the 24/7 computer lab and do some work there for a wee bit at night. So I get some rest too, I promise. But I also tutor in the evenings and some weekends. I keep my volunteering mostly to the weekends because that's when the education stuff is during the year. And working security at events and that's just kind of as and when I'm needed. So I've got two 12.5 hour shifts this weekend. That'll be fun.
That's a nightmare. Sorry, that seems illegal. uh,
Oh, I've done 14-hour shifts before, like back to back, like 2 days in a row. It's just part of the job, and it's at the Kennel Club event, so it's fine.
okay.
I'm just gonna be surrounded by dogs for 2 days. I'm so excited.
Okay, maybe that's better. That is, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I picked my shifts wisely.
hmm
But yeah, as for like properly making time, um, I don't tutor that many students. I tutor maybe 4 or 5 hours a week. Um, at uni, typically 9 to 5, security as and when. So yeah, it's just when I can. It's just when things are convenient for the most part. I get to do things.
And I think that's the perfect answer, though, right? Because like when people ask me, they're like, "Oh, how do you have time to do PhD and zoo and this and that?" I'm like, I hang upside down like a bat in the evenings for a couple hours, and then I go out into the world again, and I don't sleep very much. But the reality
Mhm.
is, like, it is that just find like if you have the time, right, you can carve out some time for it. Like, but also there's weeks where you can't carve out the time, or it's like you're busy, or you're doing this, or you're doing that, and like that's also okay. And I think that's a really important message, right? Is that like we can all make these things fit and work for us at the same time. We don't have to be committed all the time. And I think you can find organizations and things that are flexible and allow you, like for CAT, for example, with the kids that you volunteer with, there's a conservation action team at Edinburgh Zoo. That's once a month, right? So that's one day a month. And even then, if you can't come in that 1 month, that's also fine. There was some months that I'm the teacher and I wasn't able to be there because I had other things going on. And you've just got to like, yeah, make that kind of space and allowance for, yeah, I'm busy this month, and also, I've got work to do, or I've got this, or I've got that. I don't know if you also find this though, and I don't know if this is a positive mental health attitude to have. Like there's sometimes I find actually after like, and it was more during my undergrad when I was also working at an aquarium. My experience was very much like, I enjoy this because like my parents were always concerned because they were like, you're working too much. You're working on your uni stuff during the week and then this at the weekend and then and not taking any time for you. But I don't know if you're the same brain as me where you go, well, actually, being at the aquarium in my case or zoo in your case, that's actually the thing I enjoy most. That doesn't feel like work at all. It's just fun. Like, and it's kind of a like, and I don't know whether it's like nature is more of a lifestyle thing, right, than a job. And I think that maybe a powerful message for people. But I don't know if you have the same thing or whether I'm just crazy. So justify me or don't. I don't mind. What do you think?
No, I totally agree with you. Because, like I say, it's so rewarding working with the cat kids. It's so
Mm-hmm.
um, because even if I'm not doing much work, because like you say, you're the teacher, I'm like a teaching assistant. I get to enjoy the lessons as well. Like
Yeah,
I'm not doing an awful lot of work. If I'm with the younger kids, it's mostly head counts and a bit of a chat here and there as we're walking.
yeah.
If I'm with the older kids, then it's more chatting, less worried about head counts. It's good fun. I get to see the animals. I get to help with the crafty side of things. Like that one session where you had them doing keyhole surgery.
I love that. I love
That was
that so
amazing.
much. That is shout out to Jess who comes up with these things and organizes all those sessions. Like,
Absolutely shout out to Jess.
yeah, do you want to explain what they were doing or like because for people we were not giving well, just to clarify we were not doing keyhole surgery on live animals or dead animals or any kind of animals. Just we were not letting kids do that. Do you want to explain?
I maybe should have opened with this, yeah. Keyhole surgery on cardboard boxes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
We put like, it was really good. And I would recommend this. And I don't actually, if you're also an environmental educator or someone, actually steal this because this is so fun. And the kids all loved it. We had cardboard boxes and they had to cut little holes in them. And then they had to make tools out of like pipe cleaners and straws and stuff, like arts and crafty things. And then we put pom poms and crepe paper and stuff in the boxes. And they had to remove and cut and pull things out. And like, it was incredible. Like it was actually incredible, and I loved it, and they all loved it. And like you light it up, and like you can. What's quite nice, I think, is because every teenager has a phone now. They were using their phones as like cameras to see into the surgery, so you had to cut a hole for a camera that you could put in, and then they were having something to like. And in the old days, and in the previous that where I've worked with younger groups, it would be like you have to make something like a out of recycled materials or whatever. The older kids love that, but what the older kids also want is stuff they can take away on their phones. So they were videoing like they're doing them surgery and stuff. So it was actually really, I think it was really cool. I really loved it. Um,
Also, some of those students had some imaginations.
oh
Like,
yeah,
I know we gave them boxes and crepe paper and pom poms, but some of these kids were definitely seeing skin and blood and guts in their
oh
heads.
yeah. Oh yes, in
And I
quite a
think you know
horrifying but
exactly who I'm
lovely
talking
way.
about.
Yeah, yeah. There was a couple where they got into it, and I was like, "Do you know what? If I ever have a medical emergency in the zoo, please let the first aiders get to me before the kids that I'm teaching."
Oh, yeah, that group definitely not having
Yeah,
them near me.
in the best way. They're lovely, but yes,
Oh,
they would
lovely
do it.
students, absolutely.
This is the thing, they have the passion and the drive and they would do it with complete confidence. I would be like, please don't. um, but
But they
that's
also forgot the word keyhole very quickly.
Oh yeah, it became I'm putting my fist in this box and destroying it. But that's fine. That's okay. Everyone's got to start somewhere. Um I guess then like I guess before we get too distracted by that, when we kind of think about this stuff and think about these things and how they bring us joy and how they kind of pull us into a space to do kind of, to find these kind of spaces where we can have nature and conservation in our lives, we can have these kind of research going on, we can have jobs going on, we can have all these things, but we can make space for both. I wonder when you look forward, is there a way you ever see bringing those two things together more closely? Or is it something that you kind of go, well, actually, these two things can exist as separate units in my life? Or like, how do you see those passions, kind of going forward in the future?
Well, there's a couple of things about this. So, before my MRes, I did biomedical science, and for my honours project, I did a lot of a process called PCR, polymerase chain reaction. And I remember learning about it at school back in 2018, let's say. And my friends in my biology class being like, what on earth is PCR? Never heard of this. Can you explain it to me? So I did. And then, of course, COVID happened, and everybody's heard the letters PCR.
Yeah.
So I was doing the same thing that's in those COVID tests, but I was doing it on cancer cells to detect gene expression.
Mm-hmm.
And although I was focusing on lung cancer and looking at the expression of a gene involved in metastasis, you could do that process on anything. You could do that reaction on DNA, RNA from anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, random example I came up with for some reason was nettles.
Okay.
Let's say some kind of plant biologist is looking at a population of stinging nettles and they've lost their sting and we don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
If you give me the non-stinging nettles and some like healthy stinging nettles,
Mm-hmm.
I could then use that procedure, do an analysis on what genes are being expressed and in what quantities, and then tell you the non-stinging ones have lost their sting because they're overexpressing this gene or underexpressing that gene.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've told this story, I just remembered a story about RZSS doing a specific kind of conservation work, very similar, but real. And it
Okay.
is absolutely one of my favorites.
Okay. Well, tell us.
So it's a tiger poop conservation story.
I love the tiger. Good old poo. Good. It's
Real
all
tiger
poo.
poop,
It's
right?
poo follows me everywhere these days, and I love it. Okay.
It is a bit topical given last last cat.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, so the tiger poop conservation, what they're doing is giving the tigers in Edinburgh Zoo meat from specific animals and then doing this PCR test on their poop to see if they can see the DNA from the animals they've eaten.
Love it.
And so if we give them something they would find in the wild and then we find DNA from that thing, great. If we give them something that's typically a farm animal and we find DNA from that thing, also great. Because out in Nepal, there's a bit of an issue with tigers encroaching on farmland, eating farm animals, and farmers getting annoyed and attacking the tigers as a result. So the plan is to use the results from testing our captive tiger's poo and testing the poo of the tigers in Nepal to see if we're finding DNA from the, I don't know, goats, sheep, whatever the farmers are keeping, or if we're finding DNA from the wild animals the tigers are getting outside of the farms. So, yes, my degree was biomedical science, which sounds very human focused, but the techniques and the skills I learned can absolutely be applied to conservation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's amazing, and I think that's something that, like, yeah, it opens so many doors for you potentially in terms of like what you want to do, and I think that's the thing is like, even though and I always think this is like conservation and nature spaces are so interdisciplinary, but we don't allow them to be interdisciplinary often, right? They become very siloed and people think in very certain ways and they do very certain things and they think about very certain things. But like my undergrad was international relations. Then I did an interdisciplinary master's in conservation and now I'm in the School of Geosciences at Edinburgh and I'm bouncing around and doing all these things. And in allowing for these things to feed into each other, you know, you get kind of more productive outcomes. And I think that's that kind of like, and what your experience also highlights is there's so many more levels to the science of conservation, right? Of like, and what you want to do and maybe potentially where that could lead, right? Is like, I think a lot of people think the science of conservation is a lot of population kind of management, right? And looking at, or maybe looking at the health of an animal on a very base level, or looking at kind of, you know, that sort of stuff. Not necessarily, let's think about these really creative ways of doing conservation work. Let's think about like, oh, a lion's eaten a cow or a lion's eaten a gazelle, right? We need to work out what that is, and going through those processes is so interesting. And it's yeah, it's really really powerful. And I think that's it's. I can't wait to see where we'll have to interview you in. I'm going to say a couple of years time. Once you've, I'll not put too much pressure on you to figure all that out while you're doing an MRes, but
Thank
like
you.
at some point, at
As
some
we've
point,
established, I've got enough going on.
exactly, exactly. No, that is fantastic. That's really, really brilliant. I guess like before, so like that's really interesting, and I think that leaves us with quite a positive, like exciting thought to think about. And like so I thought we'd kind of move on to our kind of final three questions that I ask everybody. And they've been kind of prideified slightly for June and for Pangolin Pride. But before we do that, is there anything that we haven't mentioned that you think, oh, I meant to talk about this, or anything? Are we feeling good? Are we feeling happy? Or should we move on to the next set of questions that I have for you?
A very quick scroll through my notes. A cat, Sri Lanka, conservation. That's not relevant enough, even though it was interesting.
I am going to leave all this audio in because I think people are going to
Oh.
love this. Like I am
Okay.
loving. But I need everyone to know that I think Rory is the first person who's ever prepared for this, and I enjoy that immensely. I think everyone else comes on and wings it, and Rory's actually ready to go, and I love that. Is there?
Okay.
Are we good?
Yeah,
We're
all
all
good.
covered? Perfect. No, that's brilliant. So, yes, as I've said, this month we are celebrating Pangolin Pride. It's our second year doing it. And last year we asked all of the guests the same kind of questions at the end to kind of get a taste of experiences and different perspectives. And I like that a lot. And so this year we're doing the same thing. And so the first question that I have for you is Pangolin Pride is about, and Pride Month is about showing that LGBTQ plus people do amazing, incredible, wonderful things across the conservation space, and they belong in the conservation and nature space. And I would like to ask you, Ruri, if there's anyone listening who thinks, I don't belong, or for whatever reason they feel like it's not their, like, even if it doesn't even have to be Pride related, because the conservation space has historically excluded a lot of people. But for Pangolin Pride, what would you say to people who feel like they don't belong in the conservation or nature space?
I grew up in the desert, and I'm now in the conservation space. So, first of all, if I can do it, so can you.
Mm-hmm.
But also, even if you're not in the conservation space yet, you're in other spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So, have a look around. Find someone in whatever space you're in that's a bit different to you in any way, shape, or form. Maybe there's someone, maybe you're white and there's a black person in your space that opened your eyes to some racism you didn't quite notice. Maybe there's somebody disabled who offered a valuable perspective on making things more accessible. And these accessibility suggestions are helping everybody, not just people with that specific disability that this person has. Because regardless of what makes you different, being different can be so, so valuable. And there's a particular interaction I want to talk about that I had. Um, like you say, it's Pangolin Pride. I am an out, proud, loud trans man, and I very often wear pronoun pins, trans flags, all this kind of stuff. Even my university lanyard I'm wearing now. You know, it's the rainbow one. It's branded with Napier, and I've got my wee pronoun pin on it. And when I'm at the zoo as well, my zoo volunteer lanyard has a trans flag and a pronoun pin. And one day I was volunteering, and a student came up to me, saw my trans flags, and asked me, "Does it get better?"
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm gonna cry, but that's okay. Okay,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
not ashamed to admit, I just about cried right then as well.
Mm-hmm.
But forced it back for the conversation, and I said, "Yes, it absolutely does." I came out as non binary when I was 20, realised that wasn't right for me, came out as a trans man at 21. So I don't know what it's like to be out as a teenager or as a child. And I said this to the student, I said, I don't know what it's like to be out at your age, but I do know coming out as trans in your 20s, having friends in your 20s, when you, when you lump this big difference on them, they don't all take it as a big difference because your friends love you for who you are, regardless of this kind of thing. And I also shared with this student that I had only just come out as a trans man about 3 months before I started volunteering at the zoo. I'd been going by Ruri for a couple of weeks, and the zoo is the first place that I introduced myself as Ruri, and nobody has known my dead name except for like legal reasons, background checks kind of stuff. Because it's such a wonderful, welcoming place where that just doesn't matter. Like, I'm an education volunteer, I'm an engagement volunteer, I go around talking to people, I help in the classes. Being trans has nothing to do with it. But being openly trans, being openly different in the conservation space, led to this interaction where I got to support this student and gave them a space to vent about their problems and the struggles of being trans and reassure them that, yes, it absolutely does get better. And yeah, that's an interaction that I don't think I will ever forget about. And as I was catching up with this student not long ago to make sure I had permission to talk about this on the podcast, they were so excited and smiled so wide and told me about how pretty soon they're going to be taking some steps and doing some things to feel more comfortable in their skin. And I hope beyond hope that it goes well and that they become more comfortable and that they're happy.
Now I don't think I've ever I have cried on the podcast very few times. Very few times. And that's like really got me. Like that's really got me because that's so important and it shows the value of these spaces for beyond the conservation of it all, right? Just having community of a shared interest around anything is so important because it gives people a space where they find other people who are not just interested in one thing, like maybe the conservation breaks the ice, right? And allows them to have the conversation. But yeah, that's so incredible. And like, thank you for having that conversation because that's not an easy. There's sometimes questions get asked of us as educators and as people who are looking after or running things, and you don't know how to respond, right? Because you're like, oh, I didn't think I'd have to talk about personal things here right now because I'm in my teacher space or I'm in my workspace or I'm doing these things. But these questions do come up. And it sounds like you absolutely nailed the answer. So, like, that, thank you. And thank you for being so open and honest with how you, like, not only in that moment, but in this moment have told that story. Like, that's fantastic. And I think, like, an immeasurable impact will have been had from that conversation. So, yeah, thank you very much. And that's really beautiful. And I really have nothing else to say other than that's incredible. And yeah, thank you. And for anyone listening to that, I know you're probably also reaching for tissues because you're probably also being like, oh no, that's so. But yeah, that's really beautiful, Ruairidh. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
I
I'm glad I got to have that conversation.
mhm.
It's all I want to be able to be open and supportive, and that's why I wear the pins. Like, I'm not special for being trans. Like, that's not what it's about. That's not the important thing here. The important thing is that I was open to the conversation, I think. And I am so, so glad I got to have it. So, so glad I got to be there for that student and see them later on and see them so happy. So, yes, you're thanking me, but I ought to thank them, honestly.
Yep. There's sometimes the young they like um yeah, what is it? In the words of the late great Whitney Houston, I believe that children are our future. Teach them well and they'll lead the way. Because I at that age would never have had the confidence to ask that question. Or
Oh,
any
no,
like
me neither.
no. Like my goodness. That is yeah, incredible. Incredible. Um and before I actually cry, I'm going to pull it back. Well, I think we've maybe got a tear out of me, but we're going to pull it back. We're gonna because that's inspiring, and I love that, and you did an excellent job. And I hope other people are feeling that way. The second question I'm going to ask you is hopefully another one that is going to prompt. I hope this one won't make me cry, but we'll see. Maybe it will because it'll be such a good choice. Is which I've been asking everybody, and I ask every episode, what your favorite underappreciated species is, whether it be plant, animal, big, small, strange, slimy, scaly, under the sea, in the sky, whatever it is. Ruri, what is your favorite underappreciated species?
Does it have to be a plant or an animal? Because I've got two that I can't
Oh,
decide between, and neither of them are plant nor animal.
okay. Well, that's exciting. So yes, pick either or, whichever one you would like to do.
Oh, do I hijack the conservation podcast and make it more biomed? um, no, I've talked enough about PCR. Slime molds. I love slime molds.
hmm Okay.
And they are deceptive. They are wrongly named, as a lot of things in science are, because They are not molds, they're not fungi, they are protists.
Yeah.
And you've probably seen them on trees and not known what they were because, first of all, they come in so many different varieties.
Yeah.
But they're also like this yellow jelly like stuff on tree bark sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And they are intelligent. They are unicellular organisms. But what they do is they spread out over an area and create a really thin layer of cytoplasm, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they find food, let's say northeast of the nucleus,
Mm-hmm.
then they will build, I don't want to say tunnel because that sounds too mechanical, but like a tube, like a almost like a temporary esophagus in a way, to absorb the nutrients
Okay.
from that piece of food back to the center.
Okay.
And they'll
Interesting.
continue this going all the way out.
Mm-hmm.
And they retrieve the cytoplasm that didn't find food, and they'll make this interconnected network from the central body to all the different food sources.
Okay.
And what scientists have done is they put a bit of slime mold in a petri dish with oats, and they arrange the oats like major cities in Japan.
Uh-oh. I feel like this is going to terrify me.
I don't mean to terrify, I mean to impress because I find this
Uh-huh.
impressive.
Uh-huh.
Um, but they put the oats in the arrangement of major cities in Japan, put the slime mold in, and as the slime mold grew and expanded and built its tubes connecting the central body and all the food and everything, it made about a perfect recreation of the Japanese train system.
Because it goes in the most efficient way.
Yeah,
That's simultaneously amazing and horrifying. Like
yeah.
like that's yep.
Like imagine you have a new city, or you're just trying to
Mm-hmm.
improve the transport in an existing city. You can model out where you want the stations. Put a slime mold in there, and it'll tell you this is the most efficient way to build your trains or plan your bus routes or whatever.
That's I believe I'm going to change it. I believe that slime molds are our future. Teach them well, and they'll destroy us all. That's horrifying, but also incredible. And I can't work out if I'm going to not sleep tonight because I'm going to be thinking about how amazing that is, or I'm going to be having nightmares about how they're going to kill us all one day. Because that's, I mean,
They're
many
not
millions
going to
of
kill
years.
us,
No, no.
hopefully.
The Last of Us isn't real. None of zombie things aren't real. Plants won't kill us all. It's all fine. No, that's incredible. And I appreciate that as a choice because I think somebody has mentioned generic fungi at one point as an alternative to like, oh, this is quirky. This is even more strange, and I enjoy that a lot.
Thank you.
No, that's brilliant. That's so interesting, and I am going to have to go and become an expert in slime molds now. Um, that's brilliant. That is fantastic. Yeah. So we've got one emotional cry, one I'm going to cry because I'm scared that slime molds are going to kill me. The final question hopefully won't make me cry, which the final question is simply if people want to keep up to date with your work or keep up to date with like anything that you have mentioned on the show, like I think you've mentioned so many amazing things. I think you've talked about so many amazing things. Have you got anything where you'd be like, yeah, you can like do this or you can follow me here or you can what should people do if they want to learn more about anything we've chatted about?
So I personally don't really post much. I don't advertise my work in a lot of places because I didn't really think there was an audience for my kind of stuff. Um, who knows? Keep tabs on Cancer Research UK. You might see me there with a drug I develop someday.
Yep.
We can only hope. Um, but yeah, I might start documenting my research kind of stuff. I'm not too sure because some of the things I can't share yet, but yeah, maybe. Don't quote me on that yet, but maybe.
Okay. Yeah. No. I'll not hold you to that. Not yet. No, that's fantastic, and I think like yeah, I just like so amazing. I'll put links to all kinds of resources and stuff down in the description of the episode so people can find out more about anything that they are kind of intrigued by or are kind of like, oh, this is an interesting resource or something. Like, I want to learn more about this. I'll pop anything down there, alongside links to subscribe to the show, leave us a nice review, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, podcasts, places. Where else are we? We are on TikTok. I always forget to post there, but we're there. We're at Pangolin Podcast on everything if you do want to follow us. So yeah, all of that will be in the description. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to leave us a nice review. Ruairidh is just one of an amazing lineup of incredible people who I have episodes with coming out across the month. So make sure and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more episodes of Pangolin Pride or any of the other stuff that we've got going on, because there is always too much, as I think we discussed throughout the episode. Always commit to too much, and I love that for me. Yeah. With all of that being said, there is only one thing, well, two things left to do. The first of the things is, of course, to thank you, Ruairidh, for all of your time and all of your preparation and all of your stories and all of the work that you've done and will continue to do. It's always exciting having somebody on who is like at the start of a career, because you're like, I can't wait to see where this turns out. Like, I can't wait to see. You've already done such amazing, interesting things. I can't wait to follow along and see what happens. And yeah, thank you so much. And honestly, thank you. And I want to say thank you to all of my Pangolin Pride guests, because thank you for being, and I think you evidenced this so well with the stories you told. Thank you for being the hero and the heroes that I think so many of us need and so many of us didn't grow up with. So thank you for carving the space now for incredible, amazing LGBTQ plus people in the conservation space. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. Yeah. Oh, now you look like you're going to cry. Nailed it. Like, I got you back. And on that note, I also have to say a huge thank you to the listeners for your incredible support throughout this series and every episode we've done and last year's podcasts. Everything. Thank you so much. I hope you will continue to listen. I hope to see you again very, 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 very soon. And until next time, goodbye.